Hello and welcome, all Marble League fans, to the first inaugural Marble League podcast.
This is our YouTube series, kind of like a podcast style, where we'll be talking about our reactions to Jelle's Marble League 2021.
So the Marble League qualifications had a couple of surprises, honestly.
Yeah, maybe.
There were a couple of storied franchises that missed out. Most notably, I think one of the bigger names is the Oceanics, which, if you've been following the Oceanics, you know that the team changes like the tide. You know,
I see what you did there.
Just up and down, up and down.
That was clever, Tom.
They're honestly a winter Marble League team, so you can't see this as much of a surprise. But the fact that there were no underwater events and they still failed to qualify and they got last place in their group. I think they only finished with 9 points. It just really shows, like, wow, the inconsistency of this team.
I knew you were smart, Tom. I didn't know you were punning casual conversation smart. But yeah, the Oceanics missing the qualifier is really going to, I think, hurt my enjoyment of the Marble League, because it's always so much fun to see them, like, rapidly change whatever the hell they're doing week to week. Like, one week they'll be on top of the world, and then they'll be failing in the water events.
If you're an Oceanics fan, and, like, there's a lot of them, for some reason, I don't really know where you go from here, because obviously the Marble League's a big thing to miss out on, but with the way your team changes, you honestly have just as good a chance to win the whole thing next year. So
yeah, Oceanics don't stay down for long. Anyway, looking at the rest of Group A standings, my favorite team, the Thunderbolts, coming in, showing their dominance, winning by 6 points over Mellow Yellow, who honestly had a really surprising year. I don't remember them being any good, but I mean, there were a lot of surprises in the Group A. For instance, the Gliding Glaciers and the Rojo Rollers.
the Gliding Glaciers, their first appearance as a franchise, and they were able to qualify in the 5th spot. I felt like Group A was a little weaker, just generally, but you did have some surprises, like the Midnight Wisps failing to qualify for the first time in their history, and they, if I'm not mistaken, they did win a Marble League. So that is really surprising.
I mean, honestly, if you flipped the standings and told me the 6 who didn't make it did, and, you know, obviously vice versa, then I would totally believe you. Oceanics, Balls of Chaos, who were contenders in the Marble League last year. Snowballs, they, you know, water rises to its level. I think that works out. But Team Primary and the Midnight Wisps were totally a team on the rise. Yeah. I had them actually. They were my pick to win it all, next to the Minty Maniacs last year.
Okay. Yeah, the Rojo Rollers is obviously a big surprise. I don't think anyone really saw them qualifying. But I think their players' names are Rojo Uno, Rojo Dos. They just came to play, and you gotta respect that.
Yeah.
The Hazers, obviously, they got third. That's what you expect from them. They're probably the most consistent Marble League team there is.
Oh, you gotta feel bad for the Jungle Jumpers, though. They kind of needed this to stay relevant, because when was the last time they did anything, honestly?
Yeah, but they still have a pretty big fan base.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine
points.
I'd imagine they're still gonna hang around for a while. Team Primary hurts a little, and then honestly, I think biggest surprise has got to be Rojo Rollers, and then biggest negative surprise, probably the Midnight Wisp from this group.
But honestly, I'm feeling very good about this, being a Thunderbolts fan. Obviously, we got first, but we got into those competitions where speed and physicality mattered, and those are our strong points. Thunder won the race in the end. I forgot he was our captain. I thought it was Bolt. I remember Shock, Zap, Bolt, and I didn't
Bolto?
No, Bolto was he was part of the old team, right? Yeah, that's classic. But yeah, besides that, I think we're good. I don't really have anything more to say about Group A.
You just look at for instance, Mellow Yellow, and they were so wildly inconsistent. They got first place in the first event, in their second event, they got, I think, second to last. Then they came back with first, and then they got second to last again. So a couple of strong performances there lifted them up.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
One last thing, Team Momo, looking. I don't really know if they're going to be able to stay healthy. Obviously, with Momo as their captain, anything can happen.
He's a wild card.
But they were able to sneak in, which is good for them.
Honestly, the team I'm feeling worst about right now, it's got to be the Snowballs, number 10. Like, talk about a team that needed something. Because I think they made the Marble League last year.
Didn't they host a while ago?
Yeah, but they're like in the same room as the Pinkies for me. Like, good
The
lord.
Pinkies are more, I think,
Didn't they
we'll talk
qualify?
about them
Yes,
later.
well, we shall.
Pinkies.
Okay.
Honestly, I think strongest people from this group, I feel like the Hazers are a lock to do well in the Marble League. I can't see them placing outside the top 10. They always figure out a way to do really well.
I can't see the Thunderbolts placing outside the top 2, really.
And then I feel like Team Momo, I think they might be a team that's going to collapse in the Marble League. I feel like they're just they have some unresolved issues going in. So looking at Group B, and I felt like this was the stronger group, just generally. I think points-wise it is too. Yeah, well, the last place team for Group A was the Oceanics with 9 points, and 15th will get you last place in this group with Team Galactic, who, big disappointment. They hosted the Marble League, I believe, last year, and they don't even come close to qualifying this year. And they're a pretty big team fan base-wise, so that one's gotta hurt.
Absolutely. I think the Solar Flares and the Turtle Sliders, they're relatively new teams, am I correct?
The Turtle Sliders have been here a year. I think they qualified last Marble.
Might just be irrelevant.
The Bumblebees just had to merge with the Hornets, so they're new, I think. But the Solar Flares are brand new, and they showed it, as they really didn't perform that well. Like 19 points isn't terrible.
Honestly, this one was pretty close. 5 more points and they would have been in.
Yeah. Like, again, strong.
This is a weak. No, this is
such a strong group. Like, you look up and down, the Limers, Classic Green Ducks, they're always going to be in it.
My second favorite team.
The Chocolatiers just snuck in with
Qualifiers.
Bonbon. Not their captain, but Bonbon getting it done with the last race, finishing, I think, third, to sneak them in, and they needed this because they didn't qualify in 2020, but here they are.
Talk about a team on
I kind of like them as the dark horse this year.
I don't.
I kind of like
on
it.
The verge of total irrelevance, just barely sneaking in.
But they're in.
Yeah, yes.
It might make some havoc.
I think the Indigo Stars have been like flying under the radar for a little
are.
bit. But I mean, I guess they have a chance to do some damage. Again, like if they're in Group A, I think they would still be in, but if they would be in like the 4 or 5 spot.
The Shining Swarm with a very strong performance too, in third place with 30 points. And then you look at, well, it's impossible to talk about this group without talking about the Marble team that won by a full 11 points with the Raspberry Racers. You're talking about first, third, and then the fourth one they just rested everyone. They actually jumped out to a big lead in the last event, and then we're like, hey, load manage.
I think that's what we call a choke.
Getting
into a big lead.
Just not injuring. Just not getting injured. That's what you want if you're a Raspberry Racers fan.
Yeah.
And they, I think I saw a comment under the last one that was like, Savage Speeders and O Rangers just sitting back through qualifying, watching Raspberry Racers dominate and thinking, oh, here we go again.
Okay.
And they're a very strong team up there with the Hazers. I don't see them having a really bad performance.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The Raspberry Racers didn't have a great Marble League last year?
They finished like 8th, so
Okay.
that's not bad at all. They won the first event, actually.
Green Ducks and Thunderbolts were like pretty irrelevant that year. They were like fighting for 10th or whatever. But yeah, so looking at this, we haven't talked about the Limers at all. I kind of always forget
It's
about
hard
them.
to not mix up the limers and the jungle jumpers.
Oh, I was thinking mellow yellow.
Why are you thinking mellow
I-
yellow and the limers? Oh my goodness.
They're like la teams.
Okay, how about the teams that didn't qualify? The Pinkies. Absolute heartbreak. You look 2-0-4-15. You won the last event and you can't get in. That
Honestly,
is
I had thought they were in.
epitome of disappointment.
Yeah. I think they might be the most hopeless team in all of
If you're
Jelle's
a
Marble
Pinkies
runs.
fan, I really do feel bad
Yeah,
for you.
it's not good. Cobalts,
Cobalts, they were irrelevant for a long time, and the fact that they came this close to qualifying is really surprising. I think they might have been in going in the last one, or they would have been close. I know there were a couple teams that got bumped out.
again, poor Team Galactic.
I don't think they did.
Jeez, it's not what you want at all.
Turtle Sliders, a little bit of a disappointing performance. And the Bumblebees with their merge, it didn't seem to work out, although they finished strong.
They merged pretty recently. I would say this is a learning year.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, it's just, this whole thing is about consistency. Like, you look at the bottom teams and they're a lot of zeros or ones. They have some strong performances, but you just need to be consistent throughout, even if that's consistently mediocre. Because 4 events, you get like 8, you finish middle of the pack, that's enough to get you through.
Yeah. I feel like with this group, like the people I would like to see in the Marble League got through. Like, I don't particularly care about the Bumblebees. I mean, it would have been nice to see how their merger worked out. Team Galactic's a little bit of a disappointment. But, like, I don't really care about the Cobalts and the Pinkies. I want to see Quack Attack.
I do like the Turtle Sliders. I would have liked Turtle Sliders versus Green Ducks.
Yeah, I think they might be the next to be retired.
The Turtle Sliders?
They weren't in Marbula 1, were they, or any of those events?
They're such a new team.
Really?
They, like, just got instated, like, a while ago. Like, maybe they're new. I like them.
Obviously haven't made much of an impact. Obviously not that famous.
But yeah, heartbreak for the Pinkies. So I think Raspberry Racers are kind of a no-brainer to do well this Marble League. I like the Chocolatiers as kind of an underdog, and then I'll say the Limers are gonna have a terrible time in Marble League 2021. I just don't like. They haven't been there in a while, and it's gonna be inconsistent.
I like Quack Attack, and if you can't figure out who that is, I genuinely feel sorry for you. I feel like Indigo Stars are going to stumble out of the starting gate and just never recover. They're my pick to just do horribly this year.
Indigo Stars, that's interesting. They finished second this group.
By 1 point.
Okay, so then we
got third.
So then we should probably talk about the top 4 teams who did qualify. The host team is the Crazy Cat's Eye. They're coming off, I believe, a win in Marbula 1.
I can never remember. Once the Thunderbolts
a year
weren't
ago,
gonna win
anyway.
that
But they're obviously a strong team, and they've got home field advantage. It hasn't really worked out for teams in the past. Team Galactic or the Oceanics, or the Snowballs. But, you know, new year, possibly new standings.
And it should have been the Thunderbolts hosting. Can you imagine like a Thunderdome?
So then we should probably talk about the Rangers.
Oh yeah.
They probably have the biggest fan base.
The Atlanta Falcons of the Marble League.
Yeah, they did choke last year. That's sad.
Like, you just can't get last.
But they're such a strong team. I expect them to do well. Same with the Savage Speeders.
The Kyle Shanahan.
The reigning champions, Savage Speeders. It's hard to see them doing poorly. But, you know, it's been a long layover. I guess you had played in the friendly, but not playing in the qualifying can affect you.
I always forget that they're there. Like, they weren't on my radar at all to win. And then, like, on the very last day of the Marble League last year, they were like, oh, the winner is the Savage Speeder. And I was like, what? Like, who are they? No. It all stays.
Okay. And then the third team is the Minty Maniacs. They got last place in the last event last year to Ableton.
Okay, that's the end of part 1. Part 2 should be up on the channel, so enjoy.